Hello and welcome to post-match reaction to the Blues versus the Brumbies. We'll also have a chat about the Waratahs versus the Crusaders, but let's be honest, I think that one finished the way that pretty much everybody expected, with the bookies not even taking bets on the Crusaders over here in New Zealand. So kicking off on this one, and it was all Blues that first 9 minutes, but they did what we've seen the Australian sides do occasionally, is basically not get any points from that. They did try and have a shot from halfway, which Zane Sullivan took, and he missed that one to the side, but had the distance, I think, on that one. But yeah, didn't quite make it on that one. The Brumbies, in response, went to the corner, as we know they always do, but their line-out maul was stopped, didn't go anywhere. Yeah, kind of had this feeling that that's what the Brumbies were going to be seeing. So a really not quite the kind of start, I think, that either side was really looking for at that point. And joining me to go through this game, I have Mr. Stephen Harris. How you doing, sir?
Oh, very good. Thank you, Paul. And I'll try not to talk in slow motion as well, mate. So as for some of my Facebook videos that were posted and then deleted a little bit earlier today, but unfortunately some of them I think have been shared, so they might be still out there at this stage, Paul. But yeah, speaking of slow motion, it probably took the Blues a while to get going, Paul.
Yeah, no, exactly. And as and it ended up requiring really some penalties to piggyback them down the pitch for Eklund to score off the back of a line-out. Well, the line-out maul spun around a bit. He slipped off, and Dalton Papali'i pushed him over the try line for a try. And then, surprisingly, the Brumbies took three when they got a penalty in the 22. I think it's the right thing for the Brumbies to do at the time, to be honest. I think, especially we'd seen their line-out maul stop dead, and we'd seen their scrum going backwards. I think they knew that they were in a bit of trouble at those kind of set pieces this evening, Stephen.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much right with everything you say. I actually thought that the Brumbies, with their set piece, could actually apply a little bit more pressure, because they looked like they had the better line out. They were putting pressure on the Blues at the time, and I thought if they could be at least 50-50 on scrums, they would give themselves more than an opportunity to cause maybe the first upset of the TT Super Rugby.
Yeah, they did, and they did manage to get that lineup more try to take the lead on the around about the half-hour mark. But after that, really, the wheels kind of fell off for them. Unfortunately, the Blues had a try. They decided it was no try. They were short. I think it was from that one. So back for the penalty and took three to even things up on 37 minutes. And then I guess what a lot of people are seeing is basically the turning point of the game. Rieko Ioane makes a break. The Brumbies tackler way too high on Rieko. Rieko just hands him off, and it's suddenly in the backfield. And we've seen what happens with the Crusaders when you do that is you're in real trouble. He gave it to Finlay Christie, who had plenty of support players, and in all honesty, should have passed one of them, but didn't. Somehow managed to evade three tacklers and get himself over the line. A little, I don't know, selfish scrum half syndrome there with that one. But hey, he got the try, and so he'll be allowed to get away with it. But or as Tom Robinson described, he said he was running like a ginger trying to avoid the sun and to get out the sunlight.
Looking for shade.
Looking for shade. Yeah.
It's probably it'll go down as probably one of the great post-match comments. I must admit, I found myself laughing. I was still laughing. I didn't get to your show on time, Paul. Brilliant.
Yes, exactly. He was maybe Big Red is going to be the replacement for the Honey Badger for post-match interviews. We'll wait and see. But look, that try, particularly that tackle, really gave the Blues that 17-10 lead. And the commentators say, look, that gave them momentum going into the second half. I'm not so sure about that. I think in I think they got a right rocket up the backsides in that first half. I mean, the Blues got a bit lucky to be leading. To be honest with you, the Brumbies had a lot of time in the Blues 22. They dominated possession territory, 61%. Sorry, 62% possession, 61% territory, and they should have come away with more points. Look, good Blues defense, 89% tackling, way better than the 78% we saw from the Brumbies. But yeah, the Brumbies should have come away with more points in that first half. Really, they shouldn't have allowed the Blues those two late scores that gave them the lead. And the Blues are a bit lucky to go at half time up.
Yeah. Paul, I don't know if it gave the Blues momentum, but I think if anything, it might have just sucked a little bit of air out of the Brumbies, because up until that try, boy, I thought there was a period maybe a 10 or 15-minute period where they looked like they were getting on top, and you can almost go back to that scrum where the Blues were attacking, got two scrums, which they won penalties for, and the Brumbies came up with a penalty of their own at scrum time. And it was almost like they seized a bit of that momentum to get themselves back in the game. But yeah, that try, and when you think about it, it came from a mistimed Patrick Tuipulotu jump, which basically bounced towards the arms of a Brumbies player who knocked it in straight into the hands of Hosking Satutu, and basically the try was pretty much born from there, or they throw in a couple of missed tackles, which didn't help the visitors.
Yeah, but that's the second half that the Blues came out and they upped the physicality massively, and they just out physicaled the Brumbies. That's the second week on the trot they've been out physical, because that's exactly what happened against the Chiefs. It's something they knew they were going to have to deal with in this game. Look, when you've got Hoskins Tutu, Akiri Wani, Patrick Tuipulotu in the side, you know what's coming at you. You have to physical up, and this Brumbies team just didn't in that second half, and because of that, the Blues just camped inside the Brumbies half and picked off tries enough to just sort of walk away with it.
Just on that physicality as well. The fact that they were getting over the advantage line, it just meant that the cleaners were getting there a little bit quicker, and the Brumbies weren't able to turn ball over at breakdown. If anything, the Blues, Dalton Papali'i especially, was turning over a lot of ball. I mean to say, on tonight's performance, whilst the likes of Finlay Christie played very well, Dalton Papali'i throughout the whole game I thought was excellent, Paul.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's having a fantastic season. Back to the kind of form from 2-3 years ago when he got selected for the All Blacks squad. And yeah, you're right. 19 turnovers by the Brumbies, only 11 by the Blues. Again, yeah, that physicality in that second half, it wasn't being turned over by someone picking it up. It was being turned over because the Blues were driving over the ball. Something you don't really see that much of. But we saw 2 or 3 times in this game, which showed you that the physicality that the Blues were bringing to this game. And that the Brumbies just could not live with, and they just got blown away in that second half because they would get turned over. The Blues would then be on the front foot. The Brumbies would get caught offside. They'd get kicked down into their 22, and then we'd see. That's basically how the first couple of tries were. Whilst Heem scored it, it was the forwards that had been bashing away at the line for that first one. The second one again was 10 phases. And sure, AJ Lamb scored it, but that was also from a ruck that was on the line that came round. And then the last one again was a 5-meter scrum where the ball spat out the back. So all of them with the forwards sort of bashing away or physicaling up on the Brumbies try line.
Yeah, Paul, it seems to be the Blues' MO, doesn't it? I mean, so you don't really see a lot of slick backline moves, but what you see with the forward pack especially is a lot of continuity, big ball carrying, good clean outs, getting behind a team. And eventually, if you hold onto the ball long enough, I think other teams just run out of numbers. And I think we probably saw a few examples with 2 or 3 of the Blues tries this evening where they just basically fractured the Brumbies up front, and the Brumbies just ran out of numbers. Just a couple of little nice bits of creativity. Plummer with a nice little offload to Faiani to score and also the little deception from a nice popped up pass to get AJ Lambert for the try as well, Paul. But in the main, we're still not seeing the flowing backline movements, and I point to a situation inside their 22 where they were under advantage. They clearly gone way over the advantage line, and a really, really sloppy pass into the back line. So it doesn't always appear with the Blues that they have something set.
Yeah, no, that back line, whilst Terry Black did, he took the line on early, got a break. Some of the balls he was threading through were a little bit more creative tonight. We still weren't seeing sort of the cohesion in that back line, which is what you really need. We've got individual players doing some really good things, like those things he did. Tom Christie's try, which was from a Rico Iwani break. Bryce Heem going through. Lots of individual things happening, but not really a cohesive effort from that back line. And that's why they're having to rely on the forwards bashing it up and beating up the opposition for them to win the games. Now that they've achieved that with 3 try bonus points in their first 3 games here of Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. So it's a little bit. So some people say, "Oh, look, you're being overcritical of a side that's going really well." I don't think we are. They've got the Reds away next weekend, which is going to be an interesting one for them. I think that yes, the forwards are playing well and really stepping up. And we'll see that from a number of players. I mean, Papi Leahy, Kerry Wise, and Satutu are both getting back towards the top of their games. Carl Tonafakasi coming back from, I'm not sure if it was illness or injury that really laid him low for a year or so, has played really, really well. Back to some of his best rugby, I think. And having 4 All Black props, all of them playing decent rugby, some of them back to their best, is what's leading this Blues team around. It's it's 8-man rugby. It's not even 10-man rugby, really.
Yeah, Paul, I agree. You say if people are being critical of us, being critical of the Blues, they haven't really got the best line-out platform in this competition. From what I believe, they're pretty much down on stats when it comes to line-out. Yeah, sure, it got a heck of a lot better in the second half, but there's so many areas where they can improve on. If you sort of think back, and we obviously didn't cover the first game or the second game this evening, which was the Crusaders Waratahs game. But if you look at some of the tries that the Crusaders are capable of scoring, they can score them anywhere on the paddock, and there's a lot of creativity in behind what they're actually trying to achieve. So that's really, from the Blues piece, is the only thing that I'm not seeing here. I'm seeing perfect opportunities. You even think of the try that TJ Faiani scored. I think it was their last try. That wasn't quite right. It came out. Ruru went one way, threw it back the other way, and it just happened that Plummer, who had enough strength to actually poke his nose through a gap and get an offload away. It wasn't. There was no real genius behind it. It was just straight, direct running with an offload.
And look, we've been critical about Plummer as well. I think he came on and had a good game. Didn't do anything wrong in that one. So the Blues look powering on in this competition, doing well. But there's a lot more that could be coming from them. For the Brumbies, look, they've got to physical up. They've shown that they can be a very competitive side. Hell, they got within 2 points of the Crusaders. That could have been a draw if that last kick had gone over. But look, they can be a very decent side. They've had it tough with 3 games on the road with the Crusaders, the Chiefs, and the Blues. 1, 2, and 3 at a Super Rugby Aotearoa. So it's been a very tough tour for them. But they've really let themselves down with their physicality, and that's with their first up tackling, particularly in this game. 31 missed tackles is going to hurt you big time. They get to go home now and have 2 home games against the bottom 2 teams of Super Rugby Aotearoa, in the Highlanders and the Hurricanes. I'm not quite sure which order it's in, but they need a win out, at least 1 win, if not 2, to rescue this tournament for them. Let's quickly cover off on the Tars versus the Crusaders. That was the early game today. Look, this is a much okay. the Tars were coming from a very, very low point. Let's be honest. They lost all of their games in Super Rugby AU, and they've lost all their games in Super Rugby Trans-Tasman as well. But for my mind, this is an improved team by the Tars. They are scoring points. They kept themselves in it for the first 9 minutes until Reese and Jordan decided to cause a break from a line out and put Drummond into score. And then Parisi had a great break, but forced the pass. And I think that was, and we had a couple of times in that first half where the Tars were forcing things and not having the composure. Obviously, they're low on confidence, and butchered a couple of opportunities. But even with the outcome, they pulled themselves back to within 1 point.
Yeah. Oh, Paul, I was going to say, even during the break, I think Michael Checker made the point that they were actually making some inroads, but just not quite that accuracy. I mean, to say, had they scored that try from the Parisi break, that would have been some try. Had they actually finished it off. So it was just that golfing class. But I enjoyed the fact that they probably kept themselves in the fight. Even I thought 26-9 at halftime, and of course Dale McLeod goes. Not Dale McLeod. It'd be good if Dallas McLeod. Beg your pardon. That'd be great if Dale McLeod was running in tries at this very moment. But Dallas McLeod runs in that try just before halftime, and I thought, gee, the score just flatters them a little bit, and you just thought maybe the second half it was going to blow out. But mate, they've got a little bit of ticker. They've got points in them. The problem is their defense.
Absolutely. But you compare them to the Force last night, who couldn't get over the gain line, couldn't get any front football. At least you could see that the Tars were getting over the gain line, were making breaks, were creating things, just didn't have the composure or confidence to really finish them off. The Crusaders, on the other hand, I mean, look, they went coast to coast with some great power running from Whanganuku. Not Whanganuku. Anyway, Leicester Whanganuku and Matiali for Taylor to score. Look, some great athleticism from Taylor tonight. The support lines he was running was fantastic. He was always there. And the big difference between these two sides, and between the Crusaders and the Blues as well, is there's always two guys supporting every runner. So the guy with the ball has always got two options, both sides, which means that that causes the defenders so much more issues, and they just got to watch which way is the defender going. Well, I'll pass it the other way. And that guy, it sounds simple, but it takes a lot of work off the ball. And we saw that, and you see, they ran out to 26-9. Look, the Tars scored on 80 minutes, which shows that they played the full 80 minutes. They didn't let the heads drop. Look, they're used to losing. They're used to losing by quite a few points as well, to be honest. But they kept going, which was good. The Crusaders, look, again, not at their best. A lot of penalties in that game. Got themselves yellow carded. Jaeger comes on. There's a line out. He infringes, and he gets sent off for multiple infringements for his team. So yeah, he had a quick break after being on for about 10 seconds. Look, 31 tackles missed by the Tars, 27 by the Crusaders. So a lot of tackles missed in this game on that side. But you can say that actually it's the attacks of both teams causing some of those tackles to be missed, rather than necessarily all of them being down to poor tackles. But whilst the possession territory was pretty similar, the Crusaders 613 meters run compared to 318 by the Tars just shows you that when they make those clean breaks, 13 of them is that they go and they finish them off. And I'm not sure there's much more to say about that game.
I'll tell you what, though, it's been a good improvement story from the Waratahs. I suspect now if they had their turn to maybe play the likes of the Force and the Rebels, teams that they struggled with in the Australian competition from earlier in the year, I think they'd go rather well. The good thing about them, you're seeing improvement they're a young side. Boy, I was really impressed with their props. Their props just work overtime, and there was a really good tackle from the red-headed prop just outside the 22 on Will Jordan. Will Jordan makes that break, and he probably runs all the way. But it just shows you how well those guys were working. Also, congratulations to Liam Allen, the young blindside flanker from Canterbury, who made his debut for the Crusaders. So they obviously rested a few, but good opportunity to blood a young guy. And it was also remiss of us in the Brumbies game. One of the Brumbies flankers was playing his 50th game as well, Paul. Starting flanker for the Brumbies tonight. That is the guy Tom Kuzak. Played his 50th game.
I think it was also Alatoa's for the Crusaders, his 100th game. That's a rugby game as well. So, lots of those things. Nathan Vella, the other replacement prop or replacement hooker, actually, isn't it? 16. Again, a name I'm not familiar with, but he picked up a yellow card at the end of the game. As you say, the Crusaders are blooding a few new players, but generally off the bench, not these wholesale changes to the front. But even so, we saw a centre combination of McLeod and Fainuku. So neither of Havili or Braden Ennell, who were the centres the previous weekend. So you could say, hey, look, new combinations. Therefore, perhaps you can expect it to take them a little while to get their mojo going. And look, they didn't score their second try until the half-hour mark. So maybe that was part of it in this as well. But the Waratahs, look, we're being positive because they started from a very low point. Donaldson made some real poor decisions around kicking the ball away in the Crusaders' half when the Tars were on attack. One of those got run straight back pretty much for a try. You can't be kicking the ball away to the Crusaders' backline in their half. It's just not clever play. The Tars have still got a long way to go, folks. But the fact is that they are much better than they were when the season started, which is good to see. Whereas the Brumbies, for example, were being a bit down at the minute. I think the Brumbies will still beat the Tars, but they're not. They've stagnated, if not gone backwards. Unfortunately, even though they're still probably still are the better side of those two.
Yeah, tend to agree. They head home. Basically, they have the Brumbies at the Hurricanes at home, and then they have the Highlanders at home. So I suppose for them, just a matter of regrouping. Both those games will be winnable, but those two New Zealand teams will be highly desperate to also win as well, Paul.
Yeah, but they nearly and I say the Brumbies have to win at least one, if not both of those, to say their season. The Tars then they'll travel to the Highlanders next weekend. Obviously travel conditions and COVID allowing before hosting the Chiefs on the final weekend. So look, the Tars are going to find it tough over those two, but we're looking more for performances from them rather than necessarily results. Is going to be the difference. The Crusaders then 1 point behind the Hurricanes and the Blues at the top of the table. Next up, we have the Chiefs visiting the Reds, and one where the Chiefs are going to have to think about winning the game first rather than going after that try bonus point. If they chase the try bonus point too early, they could trip up in that game. Most definitely. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach that one because they're already one bonus point behind the other New Zealand teams, and away at the Reds, who are over their final hangover. I think the next game could be a cracking game.
I think you could be right, and dare I say it, there'll be a few other New Zealand teams and supporters who will be hoping that the Reds can get the job. Not if you're from the Waikato area, though. But I still think the Chiefs should have enough class. But boy, you never know. The Reds will be down on themselves after their performance last week against the Reds. Where I don't know, excuse me, if we saw the best of them. But they were just beaten by a very, very good Crusaders team.
They were absolutely. It was a very good Crusaders team last weekend that they lost to. I think we'll see that they're definitely not that they're not the side that play the Highlanders in round one. I think that was the abnormal performance. Do join us tomorrow at 8 p.m. So Sunday 8 p.m. for the Super Rugby review show. We'll go through all 5 of the games. Thank you very much for joining me, Stephen, and enjoy the Reds versus the Chiefs.
Cheers, Will.